Hi there, my name is Bill Gatto. I'm the publisher of the Hispanic PR blog, and I'm the CEO of Noticias Newswire. And I'll be your host today for today's podcast celebrating the launch of the special minivela Cholita Takes LA. And it's a 25-minute drama short, which debuts today on YouTube and Instagram. And it's a co-production of Minivela and Chicano Hollywood. Now, for those of you that may not be familiar with the concept of a minivela, we're going to touch upon that in about a minute. But first, I'd love to do a round, into this, into who the speakers are today. So we can start off, Manny, maybe with you.
Yeah, no, my name is Manny Ruiz, and I'm the co-founder of Minivela and a producer of Cholita Takes LA. So I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you. I'll go next. My name is Johnny Murillo,
Welcome.
and also the producer. I'm the founder of Chicano Hollywood, and it was a great experience partnering with Bria Media and all that happened. Very, very proud of this project.
And I'm Sylvia Ray. I got brought on to write and direct Cholita Takes LA. Lots of fun.
Welcome, Manny. Welcome, Johnny. Welcome, Sylvia. So before we take this deep dive into this incredible new minivela, Cholita Takes LA, for those people that may not be familiar with the idea or the concept of a minivela, can you share a little bit about what that is in essence? Because this is like a new phenomenon, right, for 2025.
Well, so I'm very happy to have worked on this project for Cholita Takes LA with Johnny and the crew from Chicano Hollywood. But yes, minivelas are short dramas that are comprised of universal stories. They span romantic comedies, surreal happenings, and all sorts of really fun stuff that could be told at the speed we like to tell it, what we call the speed of Instagram and TikTok, right? Our platform has been around for less than a month and a half, but they've been around for more than a year overall in other parts of the world. We're bringing the concept of these short dramas to the American Latino community and even for Latin America. So our stories are in English and in Spanish. And Cholita Takes LA is something that we're especially proud of because it is a story that will start introducing this concept at a higher level for a lot of Latinos.
It's a new concept, a new format. There's traditional feature film length, there's traditional episodic 24, 30-minute sitcom length, for TV and so on. So this is a new format that's allowing 1 to 3 minute episodes. And for this modern generation, this is how they're consuming it. It's very digestible, and you can actually, where the ideas we have is stuff like Cholita plus all the other ones that we'll talk about later. But it's a new format that's now in the Hollywood entertainment space, and it's a great opportunity for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off of that. Yeah, it was presented as a vertical, and the way we tackled it was to treat it almost like a whole 30-minute comedy pilot, and to have it elevated enough to where it would stand alone, but also be able to be digestible and cut into mini slices that would be fun for the audience. And what drew me to the project was, the fact that Yoli is mixed, with a Mexican American dad and a Bolivian mom. And then she takes her life from Bolivia and moves it to basically Los Angeles or East LA, which gives her a fish out of water experience. And I relate to this a lot, being mixed with Chicana and Korean, having studied abroad in Korea and not felt Korean enough, or being in different spaces and not feeling like enough of this identity or that. And so Yoli really finds herself and, is unapologetically herself, and everybody pretty much falls in love with her in different fun ways. So that's what really drew me to the project. And I got to tackle writing it, which was a lot of fun, and directing, which I love. It's my number one passion, and working with my actors was amazing. I had an amazing cast.
I wanted to say that
Sylvia,
what Sylvia was saying right now, Bill, resonated with Johnny and I, because we love the fact that she could relate to that mixed heritage and the many contorted ways that sometimes we deal with that as as Bolivian Americans or Bolivian Mexicans, as in the case of Cholita Takes LA. The fact that Sylvia understood that was very powerful for us, and we were of course drawn to her, right, Johnny? Johnny said, "Manny, you got to check." We had a hard time finding the who we felt was going to be the best director because of the uniqueness of the story, especially the Bolivian side. But when we saw that Sylvia had that relatable experience already happening in her life, and then we saw her work through some of her short films. Um, One of them, which I think is masterpiece, called The Vote. Johnny and I said, okay, I think remember that, Johnny, when we talked. It was instant.
Yeah, no, really. We saw The Vote, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's the one. And I, knowing Sylvia from before, I'm like, her other work as well. I'm like, yeah, no, she's the one. So it was a perfect fit for Sylvia to direct this.
Hey, Sylvia, I wanted to ask you a question. For people from Miami like me or Manny that we don't encounter too many Bolivians, can you explain what a Cholita is? I did a little bit of research last night. It's a Bolivian indigenous woman. And I know that a lot of them are sort of getting involved now in lucha libre, wrestling. Can you tell me a little bit more about the origin of how you got the idea for Cholita Takes LA from a writer's vantage point?
The idea itself was presented to me by Manny. It was Manny's creation, Manny's story, and the characters that he wanted to explore and the situations that he wanted Yoli to have. So really, I took his stem and different ideas from there, developed the characters, and then put them in scenarios that would lead itself for drama and stakes and comedy. And basically, with given this character of Yoli, who is a Cholita, who wrestles, who is a fashionista, and is just a skater. Like, she's an amazing woman. Yoli is would say she's in the community of a resurgence of like Cholita culture in Bolivia. Yes, you're right. Like, Bolivia has this, community of Cholitas, which stems from indigenous women, and she is like the modern version of that. And so, yeah, that for me, it just was a lot of research, making sure I took care of the community, and getting as many details as I could. Right. We flew in the Cholita outfits from Bolivia, like hand got them. It's the whole story how we got these costumes to LA, but we did. And we definitely also wanted to make sure that we brought in some Bolivian cast. So our sound person was Bolivian. We had Yoli's mom is a Bolivian, Stephanie, which you'll see who you'll meet later. But yeah, we definitely wanted to. That's my son. We definitely wanted to bring in as much of the culture as possible, and be respectful of that.
Yeah, and I was going to say the origin of the story was actually not me. It was actually my team from Nuestros Stories. We have a sister platform that develops story about heritage origins every day on Nuestros Stories on TikTok, Instagram, etc. And we noticed last summer that the story that we wrote about these skaters and wrestlers, these women, just like the main character of Cholita Takes LA, had become like a viral hit on our platform. We're saying, my God, this really resonates with a lot of people. We should dive deeper into the story of the Cholitas. And what if, right, Johnny? We said, what if Cholitas suddenly had a story where they discovered their half Cholita, half Mexican roots, right, in LA, and they even encountered modern day Cholas? We thought that would bring some great dramatic effects. So Johnny, being the Chicano, the king of the Chicanos, there, he said, Johnny, this is a great first collaboration for us, and we definitely leaned on our partner, Chicano Hollywood, who is our West Coast producer for Minivelas.
No, I was just saying that the play on words, Cholita, which is a Bolivian wrestler, to us, when he kept telling me Cholita, what do you mean, like a young chola? So that whole play on words, to us, a chola would be a back in the 80s, 90s gang member type of style, subculture type of thing. So he's saying Cholita. I'm like, okay, you mean like a little chola, but the play on words is really fun. So saying Cholita Takes LA, your immediate understanding if you're from LA is like it's a young chola. But now we got this, fashionista wrestling, Bolivian. It's a really fun play on words. And when they come to the culture clash and all that, it's really a great little story. So, but yeah, I think it was great. It's great play on words for the two. Makes a good story.
Manny, tell me about the origin of how you and Johnny began working together. How did this become a partnership between Chicano Hollywood and Minivela to produce this story?
Well, look, on multiple levels. First of all, Carlos Ponce, who's a key partner for Minivela, is a part owner of the company. We've been talking about finding West Coast production companies that we felt could help us tell these stories authentically, that we're now producing and launching every week. And Johnny and I have been talking for about a year and a half, and I told him about these plans early on. And I said, look, when we launch Minivela, you're going to be our key production partner in the West Coast, because Johnny is not only a great producer, he's also a great person. And in a short amount of time, we've become good friends. And I feel like he's got such a heart for doing things right by our community, that if you have that combined with integrity and combined with the production capabilities that he has and the people that work with him, we have a great partner. So when Cholita came in the radar and we wanted to go all in on a story, I mean, I don't know if it's clear to everybody, but this story, the DP, the director of photography, is none other than Abe Martinez. He's a cinematographer for Cobra Kai, The Lincoln Lawyer, incredible guy. These are the kind of people that we roll with and that Johnny brought to the table. And we said, let's go all in. This will be the first of many, which now is evolving over this summer with Chicano Hollywood. And that's why I was excited to work with Johnny. And I'll let Johnny talk about the partnership further, but we feel that this is a great start to our collaboration.
Yeah, no, it's the combination. I love the East Coast West Coast thing. We're here, we're based in LA. The Chicano Hollywood platform. So when Manny and I met, it was kind of a fun way. We met on LinkedIn. Then I picked him up at the airport and I drove him around like driving Miss Daisy, and we went to do some touristing stuff and all that. But that's where we became friends. And now this collaboration comes together, and really excited about it. We're going to be doing some more in the future. We could talk about that maybe at the end of the segment. But the combination of the two, especially with the Latinos, I say this all the time, that our voice will only get louder when there's more of us, and that the days are over when Latinos step on each other to get to the top. Now we have to lock arms. So between Bria Media and Chicano Hollywood, we're locking arms across, coast to coast, and we're going to elevate each other up. So this is, Cholita is an amazing story, but behind the scenes, it is the first step in an amazing movement that we're doing coast to coast. So this is not just for us and this great work that Sylvia did. This is for the greater the wholeness of the Latino entertainment community, that they're going to see how we work together. Chicano Cubano, Chicano Mexicano. We're all going to work together, and we're going to make some big waves in the industry.
We love it. Love it.
And Bolivian. I didn't say that. And Bolivian.
Johnny, can you walk us through like some of the biggest challenges you faced in bringing this story to life, creatively or logistically?
Yeah. I laugh because the biggest challenge I could say out of all of this was having to describe over and over and over again what a Cholita was. I mean, even all the cast crew here on the West Coast, that was probably like, okay, no, this is what it is, and telling the story. Now every production has challenges, so we the finding locations. We were fortunate to find Angel's Gym, which had 2 rings in it. So it had 2 rings back to back, so we were able to condense that into at least a good solid day of production. And then it's always when you're doing a short like this, trying to keep a small footprint when you're coming into a quiet neighborhood, all of those kinds of challenges. Post production had its challenges because immediately after we got done, within 10 days, all of LA was on fire. So that, Sylvia can speak into that because she was really, really affected by the fires. So all that was, probably put us up, I'm guessing, maybe about 6 weeks, maybe, that we had to just pause and not do anything. And Sylvia pushed through all that. So like any production, this had challenges. The funnest one, though, was saying, what a chola was and what a cholita was. So it helped us really kind of define that, but overall it was fun. Overall it was great. From the lowrider, finding a lowrider bike, all that kind of stuff was all fun and part of production, but the story itself shows, the wrestling, the pushing through, the fighting, all that kind of stuff, and that's real symbolic of how this production was. But overall, it's great.
I just want to add a couple of things. So first of all, Johnny mentioned it, but this woman here, Sylvia Ray, what an incredible talent, and also the fact that she lost her home during the LA fires, and she pushed through. Just the character, and not only her talent, but just pulling through that way. I was so really doubly honored to work with you, Sylvia, because of that. And I just want and wish for her to just blossom so much that I'm begging for her to be part of her red carpets in the future. She's such a great talent. But the fact that she overcame so much really was incredible. I also want to thank Rame Echeverri, our producer, and Efrain Gonzalez. They had to come from, this truly was a West Coast, East Coast collaboration. We flew in from Miami and Orlando to be additional hands and feet for this production. And I must say that the dresses that were worn are authentic from Bolivia, flown in to the production the day
of. Yeah.
And believe it or not, our seamstress, which she deserves to be on this Zoom, but that woman worked on this dress to the very last minute, the very last flight that we can get, so that we would have the dress on time for this production. It was crazy. We just weren't aware of how hard it would be to get a dress that was authentic and as multi-layered as the one that you guys will hear described in a moment. So that was another challenge. And I would say the other interesting challenge was the fact that we didn't really anticipate having a fight scene or several fight scenes in this movie. Except it seems that Sylvia secretly did, but that added some complexity to the production. And when she did, Johnny and I, we found the right team to do this, and we're glad that we did the fight scenes in there. But man, that adding a fight scene to a movie, when you're not a multi-million-dollar movie is challenging. So congrats to Sylvia and April. Look, it had to be the guy from Cobra Kai to help us make it through, because those fight scenes required some expertise in that type of action for shooting. So
yeah. I mean, look, yeah, any film is a miracle, but we had a lot of miracles on this one. Getting we had Gio Perez, who was our stunt coordinator, who took care of our actors and made things look awesome. And we got an authentic lowrider. It broke down. We had to find a new one. There were fires. We put them out, and we made things happen. And every film was a miracle, and this one was a lot of fun.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Cholita Takes LA. We just spoke to the writer and the producers, and now we'll talk to the cast and the writer as well, Sylvia. So I'd like to start with can you guys share a little bit of insights into the casting process? What was that like? And then we can segue into how you guys prepared for the role of Cholita Takes LA. And I'd love to start with the lead actress.
Yeah, I definitely had help casting this. Bethany Murillo helped me with getting in self-tapes and brainstorming with me. Alejandra, who ended up being Yoli, is through a casting process with self-tapes, callbacks, chemistry reads. She went through everything rigorously. We just knew we wanted to bring on someone who is pursuing acting, who's putting in the work, going to workshops, things like that. So we also wanted someone who was Bolivian. It's really, really important for us. And Alejandra, she lives in Mexico City. She's Bolivian, and she's an amazing actor. And we flew her in because we believed in her so much. Everyone else, it was lovely to meet through either casting, some of which I've seen some of their work before, like Caleb. I saw in my friend Stephanie Osuna's series When We Were Roommates, And We Were Roommates, which is on YouTube, and he's just so handsome and charming, and then we also had him come in for chemistry reads, and his acting capabilities was clearly there, and we were like, he's the one. And Isabella, I've worked with Isabella on, I don't even know how many now, 2 other films of mine. And of course, I wanted to work with her again. She's such a talent, and she's got a bright future. And one thing that I know I have with her is trust. But yeah, if you have a question now would be good.
Yeah, I was wondering if Alejandra had sort of lucha libre wrestling training at some point in her background, or did you have to train for that, or for fight scenes, or moments like that?
Yeah, I actually have a body double in the film, and I have some experience being trained physically because I was a ballet dancer for several years, for 11 years. So yeah, I had to learn a choreography for that thing, but actually all the really tough stuff was done by my body double. But at the same time, I was actually injured at some point because I had to do all the choreography, and it was really, really demanding for me, but it eventually came really well.
Any other interesting stories you guys can share about the preparation process, the training for your parts?
So yeah, we had a body double come in, and we had our stunt coordinator Gio Perez work with our actors as well, just to get them into the choreography. And I just really got to give a shout out to Maribel, who plays Jessica, who did all of her own stunts, learned the choreography like just days before, and killed it. And yeah, everything you see her doing is all her. So I'll let her speak to that experience.
That was really fun. So one thing when I was getting cast was Sylvia had asked, do you know how to do stunts? And I've done like stunt classes in theater, and I was like, yeah, I could do stunts. And when I was informed that it was wrestling, I was like, oh my goodness. But I was nervous. I was so scared. But being with Gio and Sylvia, and then I forgot who the stunt double was, but with him, we just had so much fun. They made me feel so comfortable, and I was just saying screw it and was doing it. I was doing flips. I felt like a real wrestler. But it was really fun. It was scary, but I had a lot of fun doing it.
Any other actor wants to share a high or low about the preparation process or the filming itself?
I can ask. So like casting Jessica and her friends was like, I wanted to get the chemistry right. I wanted everyone to feel different. And having Jake and Isabella and Jessica as my like girls was a really nice like ensemble for me to put together, and just seeing them on camera together and how different they are, but yet they're just like a crew, they're a group, it felt really nice to see that come to life, because it was just on the page before, like I have, one's a little bit hard, one's a little bit zany, and then one's a little bit like egging it on, and I just want to ask the girls, how was it working together as a crew? Maybe Isabella can talk to.
So I was actually thinking like 10 seconds ago how crazy it was, because I knew Caleb before this, because we did a actors intensive at I Am a Theater. But I also, during filming, I just kept staring at Maribel and Jake. I was like, why do I know you guys? I had worked with Maribel before on another short, and I had seen both of them in Romeo and Juliet rolling through East LA. So a part of me was like fangirling. I was like, I loved that show. So that was like really cool. And just like riffing together was really fun. Like I loved sitting on the stoop and like me and Jake just being kind of like and Tweedledum, and like Maribel being like, listen, like, so, but in character, Maribel would never snap at us as Maribel. So yeah, so super fun to riff. It was a great joy.
And Jake, I feel like, was the special sauce in this crew. Her laugh is just infectious. And I'm just like so happy to have her in this film. So Jake, you want to talk about what it was like being in the crew?
It was great. A lot of fun for me. Had so much fun. I'm actually the oldest sister of six siblings, and there's five girls, so I'm the oldest of four girls. And working with Isabella, it was just like one of my little sisters, just playing around, just being silly and stuff. And Maribel, me and her have worked together and we're good friends. So it was a lot of fun just to be able to like, I know she's like the somewhat like the boss in this one, and it was cool to get her to like be like, oh, blah blah blah, bossing me around a little bit. And she's so little, so it was like a lot of fun to be like, oh, okay, no, she's the boss. I gotta listen to this one. No, all right, what do I do? All right. And then just go off whatever she tells me to do, because it's like the little it's like when you're an older sibling but you have siblings that are taller than you and you boss them around and you're in charge. And it was just a lot of fun to do working in this, the girl power, and like just it was fun. The chemistry was great. Everything was hilarious, just playing around, even just sitting on the stoop. Isabel was like, what do we do? Like, what should we do? And she was like, I could throw chips to you. And I started like catching chips with my mouth, because it was be like something I do with my sisters hanging out at the house. What are you doing? Oh, we're bored. So let's throw stuff at each other, or try to catch food with our mouths, or marshmallows, or whatever it may be. But it was just a lot of fun. And I got to be very much me. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted was you. um, and then Stephanie, who plays Yoli's mom, she basically, her scenes were only either with Yoli or on her own. So we played Los Angeles for Bolivia, and I think she brought like a lot of grounding to the story, and really showcasing where Yoli is going and her journey, and starting Yoli's arc, really. So yes, Stephanie, do you want to speak to your casting and your experience?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I loved how you were looking for authentic Bolivian actors, and I'm Bolivian American. I'm from Northern Virginia, which is a very like a lot of Bolivians move there, and so the Bolivian community in Fairfax, Virginia, Northern Virginia, is very big. And my family is from Cochabamba, Bolivia. And when I had seen the script and my lines were in English, I had to translate it into Spanish, which I'm fluent, but I made sure with my parents, like, is this correct? Like, what do you think about what I'm saying? And I even had a few lines in Quechua, and which is a indigenous language in Bolivia. And so I like called uncle, and I was like, because he speaks Quechua, I was like, is this correct? Like, how would you say this? And so just bringing in like my character Yoli's mom, Flor, was very special to me because of my background, and just to make the Bolivian community proud, and so that it could reflect like how they see themselves and how I see myself. And I thought about all my Bolivian women, my mom, my grandma. So it was really nice, and like I loved working with Alejandra, who's from Bolivia, and we connected a lot. And I asked her a lot of questions too. So it was really great to bring Flor, bring this character to life in this film. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like Flor and Abuela bring a lot of heart to this like zany story, comedic story. Leticia, do you want to talk to your experience of being Abuela and your casting experience?
It's an amazing story. I'm so proud to be a part of this production. When I read the script, I was totally on board. It brings tradition with the present, and you don't have to lose one for the other. And Cholita is the epitome of that, right? She's bringing her culture, her tradition, and passing it on, and still being true to herself. And what I also loved is that we have influence on one another, even though we're not together. And Cholita being a fashionista, and me sewing and doing my own thing, like we're all connected. We don't have to be connected physically to be connected spiritually. And that this was primarily a female cast was also super amazing. And that we come from different places, but when we come together, we're stronger. And I think that's just kind of a theme overall of Cholita.
Yeah, I love the diversity of our whole cast. You know, all being Latino and Latinas, like it's still there's like, you know, there's a lot of different elements and spices and layers to it. And Caleb, who was, we wanted to make sure we casted Mondo right and like really have the chemistry there with Yoli, who's Alejandra, and Caleb just really brought like, you know, a likability to Mondo and like, you know, that Prince Charming aspect, you know, that he so naturally has, and also as a director, like I knew I could trust him, and as a leading guy, as like pretty much the only guy in this cast. So, you want to speak to your experience, Caleb?
Yes. Oh my goodness. It was at first it was really cool to get to be reached out and like, oh, someone watched something that I did, and that was special. And then they said, yeah, Sylvia would love to put something for you on tape for her, which I jump off a bridge for Sylvia at that point. I really love her work, and I did it, and it was so cool for even the casting process to. I never done like a true chem read before, and then I was doing three. There was one point I was doing. There's three chem reads with just all these other actresses, and then so one point it's like, man, maybe I'm the one that doesn't have the chemistry, because we were deciding. And so, long story short, when we were on set, it was really cool to be part of such a huge family, big family, and the closeness of everyone. And Ali was just a tremendous scene partner and so giving. And to be able to find where the humor was in certain places of a scene, and telling the story, and then also the unspoken, romance in there too. And I think that was something that was so special, and just finding that bridge between the misunderstanding of each culture, Chicano culture, and then also being a Cholita and the Bolivian culture, was really a beautiful bridge of a gap that I think Sylvia did such a tremendous job, and everyone involved did such a tremendous job of telling the story. And it's so, I think anyone can tune in and watch it, because that's just how relatable and meaningful it is. And so just so grateful to be a part of it. Yeah.
Well, you guys are all awesome, and I appreciate like all of your research into like your different characters and collaborating with me and finding like, oh, what's the moment before, or like what's the background of these girls, and like what does it mean to be modern day like East LA girl, like I just really loved working with all of you, and I would love to work with y'all again on anything else. That's all I have. I don't know if there's any more questions.
So were any of the scenes actually filmed on location in Bolivia?
Yeah, we Alejandra, right after filming, went home to Bolivia for the holidays, and we had a Bolivian unit, which was crazy. But Alejandra can talk more to that since she was there.
Yes, I became sort of the producer in the Bolivian unit. So we had to prepare all the locations, we had to do some scouting, and it was a really challenging task to do, because that day it was raining. So it was kind of complicated to find all the good shots that the film needed. But at the same time, it was really needed for the film to do that, because I believe that we needed to show authentically what was happening in Bolivia, and also to portray what our city, my city, look like. And I believe that at the beginning of the film, you would be able to see how Cochabamba actually looks. That probably a lot of people could think that maybe Bolivia, everyone live in poverty, but actually that isn't true. And it is a real city, and it has a lot of amazing locations, and we used a couple of them.
Sylvia, since you're the writer and director, I wanted to ask you, as you began working with these actors, with these talented actors, how did the story evolve, if any? If any, were there changes that you made to the script because you saw opportunity?
Yeah, the way I like to work is definitely in collaboration with my actors, and so we'll talk about different lines in the dialogue or different backstories, different facts that the characters might have for their background. And yeah, there'll be little shifts here and there in the dialogue, and little shifts here and there of like intention of what they're doing in the scene. But yeah, I mean, working with actors is my favorite part of directing, and directing is like my number one passion. And so my big thing is just like getting into deep collaboration with them. So yeah, of course they have influence in the film overall.
What are you hoping that that the viewers of Cholita Takes LA come away with, both Latino viewers and non-Latino viewers? What are you hoping they come away with from experiencing this film?
My number one thing is that I want the audience to have fun, to laugh, and to get interested in the relationships that these different characters are having. So that's, for me, is number one. And then number two is to, come away with like an interest in what Cholita culture is, what Bolivian culture is, do a little bit of digging into like what that community is all about. And so for me, number one, I want to entertain. Number two, let's highlight Bolivia in its beauty, its music, its actors, and its people.
I think that it's important to say that Cholita Takes LA points out a different view of what Cholitas are in Bolivia. In general, you can see in movies that they are portrayed in a really tragic way, like they come from abusive families and they end up in abusive relationships. Even though that's real life, that's what actually happens a lot of the times in Bolivia. I think that these people have an amazing inner strength to be able to stay in those relationships at the same time. And we are showing now the inner strength, but also in an external way in Yoli, because she is able to fight for what she actually wants. And she is really powerful and she's really strong. And at the same time, she can be feminine and she can be a lot of the things at the same time. But she is a real complex character. And I believe that what Silvia's story gives to all of us as Bolivians and as Latinos is to show that it's more to show about Cholitas than that what we actually see in movies until now.
I'd like to thank all of you for your time today. Johnny, some final thoughts from you in terms of how viewers can support the film, and where can they see this moving forward in the next few days?
Yes, you know what? Final thoughts. One, this cast is amazing. My final thoughts would be that this cast is amazing. I want everyone to look at these faces. You're going to be seeing them in major projects. So Sylvia and Betania, they nailed it on this kind of stuff. Rami, I mean, everyone that was involved. So that's my final thoughts on this. We're going to be seeing it. Manny will give us the schedule, how we drop and so on, but we want to get this out to everybody. The message behind this is so important and so universal, especially in today's modern era of clashing cultures. We really need to get this out so that we can help bring some healing to the world that we're in right now. There's a lot of clashing of cultures, and we have to be an answer to that.
Yeah, look, and this story is like, guys, it's these are heavy times. We're bringing just a lot of light and love into the world with a story like Cholita Takes LA. It's a beautiful story that had as many as 5 families, including Betania, Murillo, Johnny. My own daughter, Elena, was the scriptie, the script supervisor behind it. A lot of our the behind the scenes, there were as many as 5 different families that had the fathers and mothers and children involved in this project. And I love that we were able to do that with a universal story that's not political, it's not heavy, it's very light. And we're hoping that Sylvia and this team is able to see the fruits of this film, hopefully evolving into either a series or an independent feature film. We definitely think it has legs. But look, the number one thing that everybody can do to show some love for this film is to see it, right? See it on YouTube, on Minivela TV. See it. Follow us on Instagram, on Chicano Hollywood, on Minivela TV. The way that we build this community for other films to be seen and other stories to be heard that normally are not is that way. And the cool thing about what we're doing too is that not only are Latinos behind the scenes or in front of the scenes, but they're behind the scenes. And we're also trying to do stories that are universal, that appeal even outside of the Latinidad, because that's the only way that we're going to ever break through, is to have those stories that are relatable, independent of our culture. And so that's what Johnny and I are trying to build with what we're doing with Minivela TV as co-producers and partners, and why we worked with an incredible filmmaker like Sylvia, who I just feel, I mean, we got her right before she's blowing up. So I'm so happy to have worked with Sylvia and with this incredible cast. All of them. Alejandra was a terrific trooper in LA and in Bolivia, and all of you guys. You all really worked long hours and long days, but I hope that people see the potential for this film to get additional opportunities. So share it, support us on social, and like it. And that's the number one thing you can do right now as we work the story of Cholita Takes LA for the next several months, starting Cinco de Mayo, today, Cinco de Mayo. So